cookbook author. Let's talk tofu today and also make some. Have you ever had fresh tofu? Well, maybe you had it at a fancy restaurant, or maybe in Asia, or maybe bought some fresh tofu from an Asian tofu shop. The Vietnamese people would call a fresh tofu shop la đậu hũ, which literally means tofu oven. But you can make tofu at home yourself too. It's not very difficult, and I'm going to show you how today. So let's go from bean to curd. The first step in making tofu is to make soy milk, and that starts with soaking soybeans. These have been soaking overnight, and the way that you know that soybeans are ready is you take one and use your fingers and you split them, and you see that the beans themselves have a very flat edge on the inside. So there's like no little trophy thing. So check vietworldkitchen.com on soybean suggestions, because not all soybeans are created equal. Before you get grinding on the soybeans, you want to get some water going in the pot. That's because you don't need all the 8 cups of water to grind the soybeans, and you want to work efficiently. So get some of the water going in the pot. And so out of that 8 cups that I need, I put 5 cups in the pot. So how much time it takes to grind up the beans depends on your blender. And by and large, you just keep checking, but you'll know you can't really over grind. But what you're looking for is a texture that's very milkshakey, very smooth. And once that you get that, you go ahead and pour it into the pot. So I had 5 cups of water in here. I grinded the beans up with 2 cups of water. I'm going to use half a cup of water to rinse out the blender container, and then add that to the pot too, okay? So in the pot, you're gonna have 7.5 cups of water with your soaked beans. You start out with 6 ounces of beans. So remember all that. Eventually you're gonna use the other half cup of water for when we press out the soy milk. So it'll all end up to be 8 cups. So we've got the soy milk going here. So we grounded up the soybeans, and in the pot we've got 6 ounces of dry soybeans that we soaked, and then 7.5 cups of water. I told you at the beginning you need 8 cups of water for every 6 ounces of dry soybeans. So that leftover half cup of water is going to be used during the pressing process to render the soy milk. But right now what you're doing is you are stirring the pot to make sure that things don't scorch too much. And notice that I'm using a non-stick pot, because it is a bitch to clean stainless steel after you've made a lot of soy milk. But you know what? Unless you're gonna do this often, you don't need to get one. I just do because I'm lazy. So please, watch the pot. Do not text, do not go and do any other business, because once this thing comes up to a boil, it is going to start rising like a really lovely head of beer and then overflow. And if it gets onto your stove and you have to clean it, you will hate me. So mind the pot. Here comes that head of foam, so turn off the pot. So welcome to the soy milk pressing station. I've got a potato masher that I'm going to use to press on the beans. I've got a little bit of extra water that I mentioned earlier, so that's half a cup. I've also got a smaller pot. This is a 4-quart pot with a strainer set inside, so that I can line this strainer with a very large piece of muslin cloth. If you don't have a muslin cloth for straining, then by all means, you can try some other kind of cloth. Let it sit there, for a minute or two, whatever that you like. Not too long, but you don't have to attack it right away. You can just gather up the fabric and then twist it, and then use your potato masher and mush, press and twist, press and twist. do this until you feel like, you know, you pressed out most of the liquid and all that you're left with is mostly solids. I had to tell you that I made more like 1.5 batches of soybeans today, so instead of the 6 I have 9, so it's going to be a little bit more than what you have. The reason why I did a little bit more is so that in case I goof up. And I also wanted to show you something else, a little extra trick. So you're pretty good there. So what you're going to do is step over back to the right here where we have a bowl. This is the bowl that I had originally soaked the beans in, so I haven't really had to do that much dishwashing. And then I'm going to pour that water that I mentioned in here. So I want to do this because I'm trying to get the most out of these soybeans, to press as much soy milk as possible out of here. This is pretty warm right now. Unless you have asbestos fingers, I wouldn't press this again until I let it cool. This stuff is called okra in Japanese, and it's full of fiber. You can use it as compost if you want to, so you don't have to, you know, throw it away. In the Asian tofu book, I have recipes that employ okra almost like a filler ingredient. It's great for adding moisture to baked goods. There are okra donuts. That's an idea that I got from Japan. There's a chocolate chip recipe, chocolate chip cookie recipe. And so anyway, you know, don't throw it away. A lot of tofu shops will have farms take this, and it's great for animal feed. So once that you think that this is cool enough for you to handle, you can then step back over to your pot of beautiful fresh soy milk and wring out a little bit more. So keep wringing this out until you feel like there's no more soy milk available to exit from the lees. And once that is done, you can just go ahead and see the lees there. That's what they look like. And again, you can put this in your compost. You can use this for different baked goods to substitute for eggs. The Asian tofu book has recipe ideas on what to do with okra. It's a really great byproduct. And so here we've got our soy milk. That's how you make soy milk. So let's turn it into tofu in the next video. I'll see you there.